The Walking Dead Rewrite, Season 8, Episode 11, Stalker. Now this episode would begin and you would have Beta as he's entering the RV. We get to see him as we have two whispers that then open up the bottom of it and Beta goes in. As we then hear an over voice from Rick saying, "You all know the plan." As it cuts to Rick and the rest of our characters in the church, Rick says, "With this plan, with what we have, we can't let them get in. They won't." And as we see Beta going underground on his way to Alexandria, Rick tells everybody to prepare. As we see everyone splits off and we see Dwight, who walks out of the church, and as he's walking around Alexandria after the meeting, we see him walking by as he sees painted on the walls of Alexandria, "Silence the Whispers." And Dwight sees that and keeps walking. As we zoom out on Alexandria, we see the sun is starting to go down. Now after the intro, we would see Rosita and Gabriel. We see Rosita is half asleep and Gabriel gets up and she asks him where he's going. And Gabriel tells Rosita he's just going to get a sip of water. Rosita then tries to fall back asleep. But after a few minutes, Gabriel is still not coming back. And as some time passes by, Rosita then wakes back up and notices that Gabriel is still not back yet. She then grabs a knife off of her nightstand and says, "Gabriel?" But there's no answer. "Gabriel." As she goes towards her door, she slowly opens her bedroom door as we hear a slow creaking sound as she's walking out with a knife in her hand. She's saying, "Gabriel. Gabriel." As she walks down the hall, we hear nothing but silence and Gabriel is not answering. As she keeps moving down the hallway, it's very dark as she's trying to make her way through. Then she turns the corner into the kitchen. We then see a whisper has slashed Gabriel in the stomach. As Gabriel is bleeding out on the kitchen floor, the whisper is standing over him with a knife. As the whisper is about to finish him off, Gabriel says, "I love you, Rosita." As Rosita screams no, the whisper finishes the job and kills Gabriel. But then we reveal it's just a dream. And then Rosita gets contacted by Rick on the walkie. "Rosita, do you copy?" We then see the gates of Alexandria opening as we see Gamma and the rest of her friends that have split off from Alpha's camp. As Gamma then takes off her mask and she tells the rest of her friends, "Take them off." And she looks at Rick and she says, "Let's show these people that we're different from the ones that send packs of the dead to their doorstep." And after Rick hears that, he then says, "I don't understand why you're here." And Gamma tells him, "We had to get out of there. She's, and Dwight asks, "She's what?" Gamma says, "Lost it. After everything you did to her. She's killing every single person in there that looks at her wrong. And me and my friends here are new to her. I just got taken in 2 months ago. So if there's anyone here that's at risk, it's me." And Morgan looks at Rick and says, "All right, let's cut the shit. Someone like you, with the people you're with, there must be a good reason why you came to our doorstep, knowing that there's a damn good chance that we blow your head off the minute you step foot in here." And Gamma says, "Well, you didn't kill me the last time I came here. There has to be a reason for that." And Rick says, "Yeah, just like how you lied to my face about leading groups of the dead towards our community. So tell me, what great story do you have cooked up for us this time? I can't wait to hear this one." And Rick walks up to her and says, "You here to kill more of us? Is that what this is? Damage from the inside? You lied back then, I'm gonna do you one better now. The biggest lie I can tell you is I trust every single word coming out of your mouth." And Gamma says, "You want them gone, right? You want them to stop terrorizing your people? You don't want to see another head being put on that spike. I get it. You want Alpha gone. So do we. And that's all we're here for. is to make sure that they're gone. And Dwight says, nah, what's in this for you? Gamma says, hospitality for me and my friends. Rick laughs at this and says, no, absolutely not. And as Rick starts to walk away, Gamma says, I also thought you should know I saw that redneck passing the border with your friend back there on her way over here. And Rick stops and Carol says, was he okay? Rick turns around and says, what did you do? Gamma says, hey, Mr. Grimes. I didn't do anything. I saw your friend heading north. If anything happens, that's on him, not us. It's like I said, I'm here to help. And Rick looks at her with a cold look on his face and says, if anything happens to my brother, if he's hurt, if he's suffering, or if he's damn near death and it's the last few minutes he has on Earth, I swear to God, I will gut you. You understand me? And Gamma would say, yes, I don't want to hurt anybody. And Rick says, all right, if you're here, you're going to answer our questions. And we see the guards let them walk in. But as she walks in, all of a sudden, Michonne punches Gamma in the face and says, you're a liar. The cell, now. And Rick says, you heard her. And as Gamma passes out, Rick walks up to Morgan and Gabriel and tells them, when she wakes up, get all the information you can. When you know enough, report back. Then the council will decide what to do with her. And Morgan says, you got it. As everybody splits off. A little ways out from the border, we have Daryl, who is now scouting around. As you see him going across some of the mountains, we see Alpha and the Whispers scouting around their camp. As Daryl is hiding behind a hill, it looks like he's about to try something. Now back in Alexandria, Gamma wakes up as we see Morgan and Gabriel standing across the cell door on the other side. Gamma asks, where are my friends? And Morgan says, they're in holding till we decide what to do with you. And what happens to your friends depends on what you say to us right now. So if you're planning to lie to me, if you're wasting our time, say the word, and I will kill you and I will clear your friends out of this place before you get a chance to say another word of your shit. So I'm gonna make this easy for you. The truth, or make my fucking day. Either way, I don't lose. And yes, Morgan would drop an F-bomb here. I think it would really add to the scene, and I think it would definitely be a really cool moment for Morgan to say something like this. And as he's communicating with her, he would say, a long time ago, I built this cell as a sign of good faith. I never had to kill anyone behind these bars. Yet. But there's always room for a first. And Gamma looks scared and Morgan says, speak. And Gamma says, all I've done is tell you guys the truth. Gabriel walks up and says, you haven't. The story you told about you being scared for your life. And Gamma says, I was. And Gabriel says, that's really sweet, but you're hiding something, which makes the whole thing a lie. And Gamma says, ask God if I'm lying. And Gabriel interrupts and says, I've spoken to God. He told me to hang you. And Gamma then starts to break down and says, since the start, me and my sister kept trying to survive this world gone mad. We'd run into groups, but they'd always die. Me and my sister kept moving, but one night we got chased out of our community by a herd. All of our people died. But as I tried to find my sister, Alpha found me. At my lowest point, with nothing left. But I didn't tell her about my sister because I saw the kind of person she was. So I lied to protect my sister. And Morgan asks, do you know if your sister's alive? Gamma is crying and says, I don't, but I want to believe that she still is. Somewhere. And she looks at Gabriel and says, I'm begging you to please believe me. I want to help you. And if you let me, if you let us, then that's when things are going to change. Do you believe me now, Father? Gabriel nods to say yes, and Morgan looks at Gabriel, and Gabriel says, let's get her a map. We're going to need some answers here. Now, back with the Whispers, you would see this really cool zoom out of the river as you get to see Alpha. And just like in the TV show, you would have two of her Whispers that then get killed. And then Alpha then notices this and Daryl comes in. Now, this fight right here, I absolutely love. And honestly, a lot of the things throughout this episode we've changed in terms of what characters do what. But in this one, I definitely like it. Daryl tries to take out Alpha, and the fight is pretty even, to be honest. I mean, Daryl gets a knife through his leg, and Alpha, gets injured. She walks away. They both get away. The dead come in. I mean, honestly, it's a fantastic fight. And even though he's not looking for Connie in this version, it is really just a matter of trying to end it all. It's really just a matter of trying to make sure that this is over, and I could really appreciate that. And I think the way it's filmed, this is not something I'm going to change in the show. Now, back at Alexandria, you would get to see Gamma that is giving them the signs and the routes to Alpha's camp. And obviously, she's telling them exactly where Alpha's camp is because Rick and the others do not know that. So she would give them the information that they want, and then Rick would say, okay, very good. Now you guys take Gamma back to her cell. Now, once it's just the council, you would have Rick. And just like in the TV show, I think this would be so badass for Andrew Lincoln's Rick if he would say, you're all hesitating because, you're afraid of them. You shouldn't be. We broke her completely. And if we could break others, we can, if we broke her, we could break others, And he's like, if you come across one of them, keep them alive, start pulling teeth, get information because, the sooner they're going to drop the act, which is what it is, right? And I feel like that line for Andrew Lincoln, for Rick, just to feel the savageness, that he would, portray in that scene, I'm definitely giving that line to Rick. I think that would be absolutely amazing for him, and it would be Michonne in this version that would kind of notice Rick say this, except unlike Rosita was shocked to hear, Gabriel say this in the show. In this version, Michonne is not surprised to hear Rick say this at all. She, as a matter of fact, agrees with him because she is just as skeptical as Rick is, and they are on edge. So that is what Rick says, you come across one, you keep them alive, cut off their fingers, pull their teeth, that type of thing. I think that line for Rick would be absolutely fantastic. So as we're back with Daryl, Alpha would then stumble across the gas station, and it would be just like in the TV show. Daryl is suffering, and of course, Alpha would then lead a bunch of the dead towards Daryl. Now, just like in the show, I would have Daryl, of course, try to handle his own. Obviously, you would have the walkers that would come towards Daryl, and of course, his leg would start bleeding out. Definitely a moment where we feel definitely very afraid for Daryl, and I think it's good tension. I really, really do. So it's definitely another scene that, once again, I definitely think I will keep in the rewrites. Now, back at Alexandria, you would have Gabriel and you'd have Rosita that are ready to head out. As they're getting their weapons, they're getting, all their armor and gear on, you would have Gabriel that would kind of ask, is everything okay? And she would insist that everything is fine with her. Obviously, as the viewers, we know that, she's kind of afraid and kind of spooked after that dream she had, but she would deny that anything is wrong with her. She'll deny, yeah, I'm fine, let's just, let's get this done, let's get this, over with. But Gabriel knows something's bothering her, and she says, hey, I'll see you out there, She kind of denies that there's anything wrong with her. Now, we also get to see Gamma, who is in the cell, and just like in the show, you would have Judith that would go down there, and, she would kind of say, where are you from, because obviously Judith has this kind of weird tendency to bond with the Alexandria prisoners. It's just, I guess it just runs in the family, Carl is close with Negan, and Judith is close with Negan, so, every time there's a new face down there in the cell, of course, Judith is going to go talk to them, and she can clearly tell, and, such a smart little kid, she can tell, you're not even a bad person, if you met my mom and dad, you would not be sitting in that cell, if you met them first. So definitely really interesting. And I really like the little detail that Gamma adds in this too. And it's a little small detail that I really enjoy. And it's how she says, Alpha has a way of making you forget about your previous life before the Whispers. That's how much she brainwashes people. And I think, that is a really crazy thing to think about, but it does happen, and Alpha is capable of that stuff, so I definitely like that as a development for the Whispers. We then see Morgan and Alexandria sharpening the other end of his axe. Carol then would walk up to him and say, hey, and Morgan says, hey. As he keeps sharpening the axe, Carol would say, you going? Morgan says, yeah. Rick wants people out there tonight when we attack Alpha's camp. And Carol says, you sure this is the right move? And Morgan says, yeah. Why, you don't trust Gamma? Carol says, if we're talking about the same woman who killed my son and the love of my life, then no. I don't trust a single word coming out of her mouth. And Morgan chuckles and says, well, that makes it two of us. And he keeps sharpening his axe, and Carol asks, you gonna stay? Morgan says, what? Carol asks, when it's over. When Alpha's dead. Are you gonna go back to living out there in the wild? Morgan looks at her and says, I don't know. And he keeps sharpening his axe, and Carol says, "You don't have to run away from it. You know, back in the early years of things, I remember I thought I had to do the same thing. Get away. But I realized it doesn't change anything. It never will. There won't be any less pain. My son still died, my husband still died, and my daughter still died. I've lost everything, and I'm still here. And when life kicks you down, Morgan, you don't sit and pray in the woods and hope it'll be okay. Life hits you in the gut, and you say, 'Life? What else you got?' And Morgan gets up and says, 'I'll try.' And then Morgan walks away. Now, as they're all getting ready to head out and as they're ready to go attack, you have Rosita that then tells Gabriel, finally kind of admitting about the dream she had last night. And she tells him afterwards, 'I don't trust myself out there. I don't trust myself, and I'm worried about you.' Gabriel assures her that everything's going to be okay, but she says that she's going to stay back here with Eugene and some others, and they're going to defend this place while the rest of them are gone. And Gabriel agrees to this, and he kisses her and says, 'Don't worry about a thing.' He gives her his hat, and he says, 'I'll see you soon.' So as we cut to night, we then see the Alexandria graves, when all of a sudden, out of the dirt comes Beta, coming out of the ground. From when we saw him at the beginning of the episode, he now has gone underground and all the way up. So as he then rises out of the dirt, we then see he pulls out his knives and he starts walking. However, one thing we're going to add, he then takes out one of the guards at the gate. He kills him and then slowly opens up the gate, just leaving a crack of it open, so then he can let 20 other Whispers flood Alexandria with him. So as he and the other 20 Whispers split up and go through Alexandria, and they're getting ready to kill and slaughter everyone. But as we see Beta going house to house and the Whispers going house to house, we hear the screams, we hear the music, and Beta is just massacring all of these poor people. But then, as we cut outside of the walls, we have Rick, we have Michonne, we have Dwight, Sherry, Morgan, Carol, and some of the military. As they are outside of the walls, we then see some of the Alexandria patrols have been killed on the outside. Rick starts to get a bit suspicious and contacts Rosita, asks her if there's anything going on back there, but she says there's nothing. Then, all of a sudden, as we see Beta inside of the house, he waits for the dead to turn, and then he uses them as his army, just like in the show. And then Rosita and them see the dead up the road, and she says, "Come on, you guys keep searching." And the difference is, in this scene, she would say, "Check Abraham Street." As they then start going down the road, as she then starts killing a bunch of the dead along with some of the other Alexandria fighters. However, one of them is revealed to be a Whisper. As this Whisper pulls out a knife, he takes a swing at Rosita. Rosita ducks, but then Eugene saves Rosita's life and kills the Whisper with his spear. Eugene then helps Rosita, and Rosita then tells Eugene, "Thanks, Eugene." And Eugene would say, "No problemo." And then they would keep moving. And then as they start to kind of piece this together, Rick would say, "It doesn't make any sense. Most of us are out here and there's barely anyone back home." And as Rick starts to piece everything together, he then asks Michonne, "You mind taking them back?" Michonne would say, "Of course, why?" Rick would say, "I gotta find Daryl. If he's hurt, I need to help him. And if he's dead, I need to know. Either way, we need to make sure Daryl's all right. But we need to keep everybody safe back home. I'm asking you all to go back. Protect Alexandria. That's the most important thing at stake right now. If the patrols out here are dead, it's only a matter of time. And that means the Whispers are close to home." And Michonne says, "Okay, just be safe." And Rick would kiss Michonne, and then Michonne would take the rest of the Alexandria fighters back to defend Alexandria. And then, as we see this, Beta then goes into the cell. You see Gamma sitting there in the corner as she then tells him that "I am not going anywhere." And he's like, "Step towards me." And she would say, "I am not afraid of you." And he would say, "Yes, you are. Step towards me." And then Gage, the piece of crap that beat up Rick a few episodes ago, he would do exactly as ordered, and he would put the spear right towards Beta's neck as he would say, "Run, go now, I'll handle this." And Beta has no choice but to back up. But as soon as Gamma runs out of the room, Beta takes this literally teenage kid, flips him around, and then hits him against the cell bars, and he kills Gage and murders him in the cell. So even though Gage was a piece of shit, he still went out doing as Rick asked. So he definitely didn't go out as much of a piece of shit as he could have. But then we see Gamma that runs out and she's yelling help. As you then hear a little voice from Judith in here. As she then goes with Judith, we then see Beta notices this and goes into Rick's house. As Beta walks in, he pulls out his knife. He goes up the stairs. It's very quiet. As he then is walking towards the door, he then is about to open it, when all of a sudden, yes, just like in the show, Judith would shoot and Beta would fall. Then Gamma makes sure that Judith and RJ get out first. As she starts getting away, Beta gets back up, slams her on the ground, and then Gamma falls. Then, as he's about to kill Gamma, we then hear, hey! As Beta turns around, instead of the original version, it is Michonne. As we reveal, Rick and the rest came back. And very Mama Bear style, she is getting Beta away from her children. Michonne is standing there with her katana. Beta pulls out his knife, and then Beta takes a swing at Michonne. Michonne blocks it with her sword. As they're fighting back and forth, just like in the original show, I still think it's realistic because of Beta and the way he fights. I would have him slice at least one of Michonne's arms. However, then you would see Michonne, she would fall to the ground. She's trying to handle her own, but I mean, look at Beta. He is about to defeat her. He is about to kill Michonne. She's definitely standing her ground, but not for long, as Beta is actually about to win this fight. Then Gamma tells him to stop and says, Alpha wants me alive. Step towards me. As we cut to outside, the rest of the Whispers and the dead are flooding the streets, but as they're all in a pack together, we then see Dwight, Sherry, and the military come in and kill a whole bunch of Beta's Whispers and the herd. But as we then see a few Whispers break off and start running towards the exit, Dwight yells at everybody, cut them off at the gate. We're not letting them escape. So as you see Morgan, you see everybody else, and they start killing a whole bunch of the dead, trying to make sure that none of these Whispers escape. We then see Morgan, as one of the Whispers takes a swipe at him, Morgan knocks the knife out of the Whisper's hand, and the Whisper falls. Then Morgan drives the axe right into the man's belly, and then the guts all pour out. As you see Morgan viciously killing a Whisper, we then see another Whisper notice this. Morgan then looks at him with a cold look in his eye, and the Whisperer drops the knife after seeing what Morgan did. And he says, please, please, I give up. Oh, I give up, okay? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Morgan would then slash his throat open with his axe and kill him too. And he would look at him and he would say, don't ever be sorry. And then Dwight and the rest of the military would kill the rest of the Whispers that try to escape Alexandria. And as Dwight and Sherry close the gate, we see they won. But as we see, the one remaining Whisper that made it out is Beta himself. As he's walking with Gamma, he's telling her, you're gonna pay. You're gonna answer to Alpha. You will walk. And then Beta starts getting shot at, but we don't know who it is yet. As Beta scatters and runs off into the woods, we then see Jesus and a bunch of the Hilltop fighters come in and save Gamma's life. But as they're about to kill her too, she says, wait. I'm with Alexandria. I swear to God, I'm with Alexandria. And Jesus says, we never seen you before. And she says, I wasn't, okay? I'm with them, okay? I got captured, okay? It wasn't my fault. And she's kind of scrambling. She's trying to, explain herself. And Jesus would say, all right, let's contact Alexandria and find out about that, shall we? And he would contact, and then Dwight would answer the walkie-talkie, and he would say, oh my God, Jesus? And he would say, hey, I'm on my way to Alexandria. We found a Gamma. Do you guys know who she is? And Dwight looks hesitant, and he almost doesn't want to let her back. But then Dwight says, yeah, she's okay. And they remove the guns away from Gamma, and Jesus says, perfect, I'm bringing her back. We're on our way to you. As he signs off, and Dwight says, all right, see you soon. And Dwight signs off the walkie-talkie. And as he's looking at a massacred Alexandria with dead bodies everywhere, we then see written on the Alexandria wall, just like the beginning of the episode, silence the whispers, except this time, there's a bit of blood splatter on the logo. Now, as we're back with Alpha, we would see the same thing. Do you see into the light, Daryl? Daryl, whatever. And then we would find out, just like Alpha, Daryl, while Alpha was, kind of mid-passed out, he managed to escape in the back way. He managed to go out the back door, and Daryl has actually made it out. Unlike the original version, Daryl managed to get himself out of this scenario. And as Alpha realizes that Daryl is gone, she is now very upset. Back at Alexandria, as we see everybody, they're getting ready to go, and apparently, according to what Jesus is saying, they're all loading up and they're all going to go to Hilltop to fight the Whispers together. However, Gabriel is staying back, and Rosita says her goodbyes to him. He's going to defend Alexandria while the rest of them go to Hilltop. We then see Michonne, who introduces herself, and then Gamma does the same and tells her that her name is Mary. And Michonne would say, "Nice to meet you, Mary." And then, as Daryl is struggling, as he's barely making it through the woods, he's tired, he looks dehydrated, and he finally just falls to the ground. As a few walkers are walking up to him, Daryl looks like he's about to give up and die. But as the walkers get closer to him, and as Daryl looks like he's just ready to give up, all of a sudden, they all get shot in the head by Rick and Carol. As Rick lowers his gun, he walks up to Daryl and he tells him, "Brother, take my hand." Now, as Alpha is helped up by the rest of her whispers, she would say, "I am stronger than ever. We bathe in blood. We are free. We fear no one. We are free. This is the end of the world. We are the end of the world." And as we zoom out, we then see Negan, who is walking through the woods as he stumbles upon an old cabin. Negan then walks into the cabin. He pulls up an old rusty chair and he sits in it for a second. As he has the new version of Lucille in his hands, he starts to do his old classic savior whistle. As he has a big smile on his face, we wonder, what is Negan about to do? So that was The Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 11, Stalker. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was our big attack episode. We had learned a lot from the Mary/Gamma character and her backstory and how she, met Alpha and what happened with her and the Whispers and her joining Rick's crew and why she wants Alpha dead. And we learned all that stuff in this one, as well as seeing Michonne versus Beta, something that we never would have gotten to see in the original TV show, sadly. We saw Morgan out there kicking ass in the Whisper War, defending Alexandria, Dwight, the military, Sherry, and the rest of our characters all coming together to take down this massive threat that is the Whispers, and Beta, who almost succeeded to get Gamma back, but not before Jesus came to the rescue and saved her life. So that is that. Daryl is now back with our crew. He has just gotten saved by Rick after a very brutal fight with Alpha, and that is where the episode wraps, where we have Negan, who is now plotting something. What is he thinking? We don't know, but that is definitely old school Negan. What is he doing and what is he about to do coming up next? We'll just have to see, but as we continue, stay tuned, because coming up next is The Walking Dead Rewrite, Season 8, Episode 12, A Well-Deserved Massacre. Thanks for watching.
My God, no!